What's up, guys? Today for Whiteboard Wednesday we're going to go over hamstrings for sprinting, and this is going to be a multi-series Whiteboard Wednesday. So next week we'll go more in depth on the training of the hamstrings, but today we're going over more anatomy and why it's important to train the hamstrings. So when we're looking at hamstrings for athletes, you have a lot of injuries at sports in general. Track is the most common, but soccer, football, rugby, and baseball have a lot of hamstring injuries, and that's because you're hitting high speeds where you're actually going into maximum velocity, which is where during sprinting that's the most common point where hamstring injuries occur. So what can cause these different hamstring injuries? Hank Kragenhoff said it was the hamstring strength, and he brought up that if your quad is less than or equal to your hamstring when it comes to strength, you're going to have big problems, so it's an increased risk of hamstring injury. When you load your sprinting too fast, either through the volume or through the intensity, so if you're logging a lot of yardage and you're not ready for it, you're increasing that chance of injury. Along with that, if you're upping the intensity, say you're going like 80, 90%, and then all of a sudden you're going 95%, and you haven't built up to training in that intensity, a lot of times that's where hamstring injuries occur. When we're talking running techniques, another big one, if you're not hitting underneath the hip or behind you, you start getting into where you're pulling, where that foot's striking out in front. You're basically overdoing a hamstring curl over and over again as you're striding out, which can cause the injury. And then fatigue going into training where you're still tired neurologically and you go into training, that's another spot where you can injure the hamstring. Now for the muscles that make up the hamstrings, you have the biceps femoris. It's got two heads, a long head and a short head. The long head crosses at the hip and performs hip extension, knee flexion, external rotation of the tibia it's involved in. And the short head does not cross the hip, and it's knee flexion, external rotation of the tibia. So the main thing when we're looking at it, it's the most commonly injured portion of the hamstrings, the lateral portion aspect out here of the biceps femoris, and it's normally injured during sprinting. And then you have the semitendinosus. The actions are the hip extension, knee flexion, internal rotation of the tibia. And semimembranosus, its actions are hip extension, knee flexion, internal rotation of the tibia. And next week we'll go in more detail on how to actually train these hamstrings from both attachments, along with, and then the third installment will probably be how to actually program your sprinting and loading to have the most success without risking a hamstring injury.